So this prarabdha karma also has got the obstacles, but not all the obstacles you're meant to face, but the obstacles you're meant to face in this lifetime. And then finally we have there are two ways of looking at it. It's got two names. One is kriyamana karma. And the other name of it is called agami. That means what is the future karma. But I like the word kriyamana. Kriya means action and mana means mind, action of the mind. And basically what the kriyamana karma is saying, that this is your fixed karma. That means sanchita, what you collected. Only you collected it, nobody else collected it for you, you collected it. These are your opportunities and obstacles. So what are you going to do about it? How is your mind going to react? That is what we say is your free will. How are you going to develop yourself to move into this path of enlightenment and to purify yourself? So, but the thing is that by being conscious and consciously doing the correct thing, you are creating a better future for yourself. So agami means future karma. So Patanjali says this very important verse, heyam dukkham anagatam. Future sorrow can be avoided. But most of us don't worry, don't think about these things and don't work with them. But the problem with this action that you're doing today becomes the collected karma of tomorrow. So the cyclical aspect of karma is that you have done action, you have faced obstacles, and that is making you react to it, so you create more actions. So in very modern day terms, we have to try to have a zero carbon footprint for the future. That is what the yogis are doing.
Nice.
Yeah?
Very nicely said.
Yeah.
Zero karma footprint.
Karma is good with carbon footprint, with zero karma footprint. Swamiji has made it even better. So we need to have a zero karma footprint. So we don't need to have, so that is the key to ourselves, to our consciousness of who we are, what we are. So in this, what happens is that traditionally in India, when the child was born, the chart was made so that the parents could see what is the karma of the child. And then it was not used to just say, okay, this you're going to be rich or you're going to marry or things. It's to see what is the potential and accordingly to nurture the child and educate them so that they bring their potential. Because each incarnating soul is looking for moksha or self-realization or to get rid of the karma. Moksha can't be, but we still have to live in this world. So the birth chart was studied, and all of you have a birth chart, you know, the date you were born, the day, time. That birth chart gives you your karma at the time you were born. And since then you've been either improving it or abusing it. Because you see, we don't have the zero karma footprint. We are creating more energy. And in this story of your life, you are facing your prarabdhas, you're facing your obstacles, you're reacting to them. But most of us, I would say 90%, 95%, tend to react just to situations. That means that they're not conscious of what is happening, what is, you know, so if something happens, you cry, if something's good, you laugh. And people will go from laughter to crying very quickly. Because they feel if we are unhappy, we should be unhappy. If we are happy, we should be immediately happy. And so you're going through these two extremes of emotions. Neither is really satisfying. Because the real sukha is that doesn't matter whether you're in happy or unhappy situation. I think Swamiji said to me a few years ago that, you know, as Swamis, they are meant to take whatever comes in their life. It's not about, so if they get a great something, it's fine. If they don't get food to eat, it's fine. That is part of, but the grace of God is such that you get it, because that's not that you will not get it. But this aspect of, you know, not understanding that the karma is all the time making you create more karma. Whereas we have to try to create less karma. And last night we were discussing about a friend of mine, I was seeking Swamiji's counsel, that he has got himself stuck into his karmic situation despite knowing that the karma is there. You see, because what happens is that a lot of us, and this is when we see our chart and we see the things, we are not prepared to see our karma for what it is. Because in order to see it also you need some inner strength. And then sometimes the karma is difficult materially, therefore you have to develop spiritually. So we can be in denial of what is it that we have, what is the path we are supposed to go. So the path which is not supposed to be full of unhappiness. The path is supposed to be happy. We are not, the soul is actually not attached. So it's the body that is attached to things, body that is living in illusion. So sometimes we have to develop that detachment to be able to see what are the issues that are there within us, and to understand that not all karma is identical, not all paths are identical. And especially the path of a yogi is more complicated than a path of a bhogi. Bhogi means you're just enjoying life and you are just reacting to situations and you only want desire-filled, which is then creating more and more karma, and your footprint, your psychic baggage is becoming bigger and bigger. So therefore, as a path of a yogi, you have to learn to be consciously aware of what is, firstly, what is your karma. That means that you may think that you want to study Jyotish, which is why it's important to study it more than really get a consultation. Because you can get a consultation, but you don't truly understand. So it is one of what I would say speciality for a yogi, as a specialist subject, not as a first subject. Is to understand what is the karma that you brought into this life. So what are the issues, what are the things, what are your opportunities, what are the obstacles. But also, even if you don't study Jyotish, you should understand that there's some karma you have brought into the life. And therefore, it is time to pay it back. So if sometimes you have somewhere you have to give back to society or karma yoga or working, what you're actually doing is you're giving back your karma. So without expectation of reward. You see, the expectation of reward means that if you do karma and you think, I will get reward for it, then again you're creating the footprint, you see. So if you're doing the karma and you're saying, okay, this is a thing I can do, I can give back. I don't need to be said, oh wow, you did a great job, or, you know, this is, Kumela has done this, she's great. You just do it because you are doing it as part of your giving back. That is why at the ashram there's a lot of emphasis on karma yoga. Because if you can do something, you can give back, that means you are paying back your karma. So what I want you all to be aware is that you're born with a certain karma. Then this karma is controlled by the planets. So they say the planets, the Sanskrit name for planets is graha. And the graha means to grasp. So they have grasped, got hold of your soul. And therefore they're giving you personality types. You can be a sun personality, you can be Leo, you can be Cancer, Virgo. Those are all outer personalities. The soul doesn't have a personality. Sometimes we say, the soul is like this, but that's really not true. The soul doesn't have a personality. He's just pure inside you. But it's all this covering, like we say kosha in yoga, it's that covering. So the planets have grasped you. And out of all the planets, we have the sun that represents your ego, and the moon that represents your mind. These are your two lights. They say in India they are the living gods. So the sun, there's a yoga exercise, Surya Namaskar, salutation to the sun every morning, facing east. People used to do this as a prayer to the sun every morning, that you do the 12 asanas. So the 12